I didn't expect her to change anything. I just wanted to understand where I stood, what we'd lost, and what was still there. This isn't a story about comparison. It's about identity, and the quiet way we sometimes rediscover ourselves by seeing things from the outside. Before we begin, if these kinds of quiet, complicated stories speak to you, please take a second to like the video and subscribe. It helps the channel more than you know and make sure you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for being here. Now, let's begin. He said it like a joke. Pick anyone you want. I'll only say yes if you pick someone who looks like you. I laughed it off, made a face, rolled my eyes, and changed the subject. But it stayed with me, because part of me didn't believe him. I wasn't looking for reassurance. I just noticed things. The way his eyes lingered longer on old photos than on me. The way he still called me beautiful but didn't reach for me the way he used to. I told myself it was marriage, routine, stress, anything but what I really feared. So late at night, while he was asleep beside me, I did something I couldn't explain. I opened my phone and typed a message to a woman I'd seen before. A soft-spoken barista at the cafe near my office. She was maybe 10 years younger, with the same warm eyes, same dark hair, same build I used to have before age, made me choose comfort over style. I didn't think she'd say yes. I didn't think I'd even send it. But I did. And when she wrote back with a simple, okay, I felt a strange twist in my gut. I told myself I was just curious, just testing a theory. But when the day came and I saw her standing in our entryway, wearing a pale blue sweater that used to be my color, my heart dropped into my stomach. She looked too much like me, and I wasn't sure if that made me feel powerful or replaceable. I'd spent hours making sure everything looked effortless, like her arrival was casual, expected, nothing special. I told him we were having company, but not who. Just said it was someone I knew from the cafe who needed a place to decompress. He didn't ask questions. He rarely did anymore. So when the doorbell rang that evening, the table was already set. Soft lighting, wine poured, just like any normal night. But my palms were damp. My heart was louder than it should have been. He came down the stairs a minute later, sleeves half rolled, expecting small talk and leftovers. Then he saw her. He froze mid-step, not dramatically, just a subtle pause, like his brain needed a moment to catch up to his eyes. She looked up, nervous but smiling. "Hi," she said quietly. He glanced at me. Her name's Lila," I said. "She's staying for dinner." I could see him trying to piece it together. His smile was polite, but his eyes paused. Not in a bad way, in a familiar way. Like he was staring at something he used to know by heart. And suddenly, I felt like I wasn't in the room. Like I was watching two people meet across a decade. One of them still me. The other, what I used to be. They shook hands. She laughed a little too hard at his first joke. He refilled her glass before she finished it. I caught the way he leaned in when she spoke. The way he explained things like he hadn't explained anything to me in years. Like he wanted her to understand him. She didn't do anything wrong. She was sweet, grateful, a little overwhelmed. But when she shifted her seat slightly toward him and he didn't shift away, I felt it. That flicker in my chest. Not quite anger, not quite fear, just absence. And then came the moment that stuck. They both reached for the bottle at the same time, and their hands bumped slightly. She looked down. He didn't. I watched his expression shift, relaxed in a way I hadn't seen in years. And right then, I realized I didn't just want to test him. I wanted to see if I could still make him look that way again. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was just tired, that maybe the wine was making me too sensitive, but I couldn't unsee the way his expression softened. Not for me, but for her. He hadn't looked at me like that in months, not with that quiet curiosity, not like he was discovering something, and I hated that I noticed. I hated that it mattered. She was trying her best to be respectful, smiling when he spoke, nodding like she didn't want to overstep. I kept waiting for her to glance at me, to remember I was part of this too, but most of the time she didn't. It wasn't intentional. She was just focused on him. So was I. I watched the way his body angled toward hers without thinking, the way he served her first, the way his laugh came easier when she laughed first, like they were syncing without even trying. And all I could think was, did I ever look that bright to him? Maybe I had, once. Before the bills and the quiet routines, before we started saying, I love you like punctuation instead of promise, before I stopped putting effort into how I looked behind closed doors, thinking love didn't need reminders. Now I wasn't so sure, and yet, I couldn't leave the room. I could have gone upstairs, pretended to take a call, found some excuse to let the night end early, but instead, I poured another glass, smiled when they did, laughed when it fit, and sat there feeling like I'd faded into the background, not because I wanted to punish myself, but because some stubborn, quiet part of me didn't want to leave yet, to see what he would do next, or maybe to see what I would. They'd stopped talking, but the silence didn't feel empty. It felt full, like something had shifted, even if none of us had said it out loud. Lila looked over at me then, not apologetically, not nervously, just softly, like she remembered I was there, and wanted me to know she hadn't forgotten. I didn't smile, but I didn't look away either. My husband reached for the bottle again, slower this time, and offered to top up both our glasses. I shook my head. Lila hesitated, then shook hers too. His eyes flicked between us for a second, curious, maybe even thoughtful. Then he leaned back in his chair, his body turned halfway toward her, and halfway toward me. It shouldn't have meant anything, but it did. Because for the first time all evening, I didn't feel like I was watching something unfold without me. I felt connected to it. Like there was still space for me in the room. Like this wasn't about replacing me, but remembering me through someone else's eyes. I stood up, not quickly, not dramatically, just enough to break the moment. I carried a few empty plates to the kitchen, more out of habit than need. And when I came back, they'd moved to the couch. They weren't touching. They weren't even close. But something about the way they were sitting, open, relaxed, angled slightly toward the empty cushion between them, made me pause. Neither of them said a word, but both of them looked at me at the same time, like they were waiting, like they knew the next move wasn't theirs to make. I walked over slowly, sat between them without asking. The room felt warmer than before, smaller, not in a suffocating way, just more focused, more quiet. She smiled at me, just once, and my husband. He exhaled, like something had settled. None of us spoke. We didn't need to, because in that moment I didn't feel threatened. I felt seen. We stayed like that, 3 people, 1 pause. No one moved, no one spoke. But the silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was full, still, like the room had finally settled into something honest. I didn't look at her first this time. I looked at him. His eyes were steady, not searching for permission or forgiveness, just open. He wasn't trying to fix anything. He was simply present. And in that stillness, I saw something I hadn't felt in a long time. I wasn't being evaluated. I wasn't being compared. I was being seen. Then I turned toward Lila. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking at me. Not expectantly, not nervously, just quietly, like she understood this wasn't her moment. It was mine, and it didn't feel like a test anymore. It felt like a mirror, not of who I used to be, but of who I still am, underneath the doubt, beneath the time. I didn't reach for anyone. I didn't speak. I didn't move closer. I just breathed. And in that breath, something inside me softened. Not because anything had changed, but because for the first time in too long, I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel forgotten. I felt like I belonged in my own life again, and that was enough. Some moments speak loudest when nothing is said at all. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about recognizing what still matters. Be honest. Do you wish you were there too? If you were, what would you be doing? Tell me in the comments. I'll be reading. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks again for watching.